Welcome to True Crime with Jackson, hosted by yours truly, Jay Jackson. Here on our channel, we dive deep into some of the most chilling cases in history, shedding light on the facts, the psychology, and the aftermath. Today, we're refocusing on one of the most unsettling figures the crime world has ever seen. Dennis Lynn Rader, better known by his chilling alias, the BTK Killer. BTK, 3 letters that stand for bind, torture, kill. Rader committed heinous acts that spanned over decades, leaving a community in Kansas gripped by fear. But what drove him to such dark extremes? Was it something rooted in his past, his environment, or his own inner demons? Today, we'll try to answer these questions as we walk through the life and crimes of Dennis Rader. Before we dive into the crimes themselves, let's take a step back and examine who Rader was before the murders. Born on March 9, 1945 in Wichita, Kansas, Dennis Lynn Rader grew up in a seemingly normal household. He was the oldest of 4 brothers and appeared to be like any other kid. But appearances can be deceiving. Beneath the surface, Rader was harboring disturbing thoughts even during his formative years. By his own admission, Rader exhibited troubling behavior as a child. He developed a fascination with binding and harming animals, a grim foreshadowing of what was to come. Most chilling is the fact that he experienced pleasure in causing suffering, an early glimpse into what criminologists call sadistic tendencies. Rader also began fantasizing about tying up women, a theme that would become an integral part of his future crimes. He admitted later that these thoughts stayed with him as he transitioned into adulthood, growing more vivid, more dangerous, and eventually impossible for him to stifle. Despite these macabre fantasies boiling inside of him, Dennis Rader appeared in every outward sense to be a functioning member of society. This duality, his ability to mask his true nature, is what makes his case so haunting. He graduated from Wichita State University, served in the United States Air Force for 4 years, and married his wife, Paula, in 1971. Together, they had 2 children. Rader worked regular jobs, including as a compliance officer and even as a church leader. That's right. He led a congregation. It is hard to imagine that someone who could stand at a pulpit preaching morality was secretly harboring such unspeakable darkness. Now hang on to that image of Rader as a family man, community leader, and neighbor, because we're about to peel back the facade entirely. It was in 1974 that Dennis Rader started a reign of terror that would haunt Wichita for decades to come. His first known murders were particularly brutal. He targeted the Otero family, a mother, father, and 2 children. On January 15th, he entered their home, tied each of them up, and methodically killed them one by one. He later admitted in interviews that, for him, the act of binding his victims represented control, power. For Rader, these crimes weren't just about taking lives, they were about fulfilling his violent fantasies. It's important to pause for a moment here, because understanding Rader's motivations requires us to dig into his psyche. While many killers act impulsively, out of rage or desperation, Dennis Rader was calculative. He didn't just commit crimes, he hunted, and he planned meticulously. Experts believe he was driven by a mix of sadism and narcissism. Sadism, the innate desire to cause suffering, and narcissism, the need for superiority and recognition. In his mind, he was creating a legacy. He wanted people to fear him, to acknowledge him, almost as if this was some twisted form of validation. What separates Rader from most serial killers is how deeply he craved attention. This wasn't a man content to let his crimes remain solitary acts shrouded in secrecy. No, he needed an audience. That's why he wrote letters to the press and to the police, detailing his crimes in chilling fashion. In these messages, he signed himself BTK and boasted about his ability to elude authorities. He enjoyed playing games with law enforcement, showing off the fact that for years they couldn't catch him. It was every bit as much about the thrill of evasion as it was about feeding his ego. Between 1974 and 1991, Rader claimed a total of 10 victims. His modus operandi rarely changed. He would select his target, usually a woman he had fixated on as part of his fantasies, then stalk her over weeks or months. He called this process trolling, likening himself to a predator circling its prey. Once he was satisfied with his preparations, he'd strike, often entering his victims' homes by force and binding them with ropes or duct tape. He relished the dominance, the helplessness of his victims, and the power he felt. For him, it wasn't just about what happened in those moments. It was about capturing his fantasies in real life. So how did Dennis Rader manage to elude capture for so long? Part of the answer lies in his ability to blend in. He was the last person you'd suspect. A church leader and dedicated family man, his outward life gave no indication of his monstrous actions. He compartmentalized. When he left his crimes behind, it's as though they became a separate world, one he didn't allow people to see. It's deeply unsettling, isn't it, to think that someone so seemingly average could be capable of such horrors. But even the most cunning criminals make mistakes. Dennis Rader's downfall was rooted in the very narcissism that defined him. After a hiatus of more than a decade, he resurfaced in 2004, sending letters and packages to the press and police. By then, advancements in technology had dramatically improved investigative methods. One of the packages he sent contained a floppy disk, a fatal error. While Rader had assumed he'd erased all identifying information from the disk, investigators were able to trace it back to his church. From there, it was only a matter of time before police arrested him in 2005. When Dennis Rader was finally caught, he showed little remorse. His confessions were chillingly matter-of-fact, as though he were recounting mundane events. During his trial, Rader described his crimes with eerie detachment. That said, he also admitted to struggling with his compulsions, painting himself as both victim and villain in his own twisted narrative. To this day, criminologists and psychologists continue to study Dennis Rader in an effort to better understand what drives serial killers. His case provides insight not just into sadism, but also into the psyche of someone riddled with narcissism, who sought validation through murder instead of fame or achievement. It raises difficult questions about how such individuals can hide in plain sight, and the warning signs we often fail to notice. Dennis Rader currently resides in a Kansas prison, serving 10 consecutive life sentences with no chance of parole. Behind bars, he has attempted to create art and write poetry. But there's no erasing the legacy he left behind. His victims, their families, and the Wichita community continue to feel the impact of his crimes decades later. If there's anything we can take away from this case, it's the importance of vigilance. As horrifying as it is to think about, serial killers can be anyone. A neighbor, your kid's soccer coach, or even the man leading prayer at Sunday service. It's a stark reminder that evil doesn't always come in the form we expect. Thank you for tuning in to True Crime with Jackson. As always, we aim to bring you not just the facts, but an understanding of the hearts and minds behind these cases. If you found this video helpful or insightful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world of true crime. And remember, stay safe, stay aware, and take care of each other. Until next time, I'm Jay Jackson, signing off.